Juventus then still clinging to a 1-point lead in Serie A over Inter Milan. Both teams winning on the weekend. Roma and Napoli dropping. Roma lost, they fall to 6th. Napoli, after scoreless draw, fall to 7th. But the big story, Juventus, not necessarily their victory over AC Milan. Instead, Ronaldo's fury. The jewel of Sarri, Paulo Dybala. Ronaldo, furious. He stormed off after being subbed out in the 55th minute, straight down the tunnel. Gab, do you think this is a blip of unhappiness or maybe something deeper brewing with Ronaldo and Sarri?
Well, certainly from Ronaldo's perspective, he did everything to go to sort of dial it back. He came out and he posted on Instagram like, "Come on, lads," and everything seems to be fine. I think the point was made that and the 3 ex-pros with you will know better than me that when something like this happens, the first people you need to apologize to really are your teammates. But, you know, I just think it's a tough time for him. You know, he has these niggles. It's only 3 times in the past decade that he's been substituted in consecutive games. And I'm not suggesting he's starting to doubt his own mortality, but it is something to cope with, and it's frustrating. But I think above all, though, the guy's a professional, and I think he realizes the importance of making sure, you know, his teammates aren't upset with him, and, you know, let go in, apologize, let bygones be bygones. He's done that, and I think he's ready to move on.
Speaking of moving on, here's what Fabio Capello had to say about Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo hasn't dribbled past a player in 3 years, and I remember when he could leave them on the floor. I feel like pundits worldwide have thought about the decline of Ronaldo for years. No one really wants to come out and say it.
Well,
I think we're seeing the decline.
Well, you know, I mean, it's hardly rocket science, is it? I mean, here's a guy who's now in his 30s, who's had his fair share of injuries, who's played a lot of games for club and country, you know, well over 100 caps, hasn't got the burst of pace that he once had. It's hardly a surprise to anybody, never mind a guy who's managed at the top of the game, and Fabio Capello. Every player has to tailor the game, and that's the fight that Ronaldo's having at the moment, probably on top of carrying an injury as well. If you look at his goal scoring, you can see the frustration this season. I mean, it's 5 in Serie A and 1 in the Champions League, 6 in all competitions, and we're not that far away from Christmas approaching. So the numbers are down for him, the performances are down. He's going to have to figure it out. But I mean, as for not dribbling past anybody, what a load of nonsense.
We were talking about this in his last year with Real Madrid, that he'd stop going past people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Hey, but at some point it is going to happen. At some point it is going to happen, right?
Well, what's going to happen?
Ronaldo's going to hit that wall, stop really dribbling past people, and not be the effective player.
He has. It's not new. That's not new news. The difference is he's had to tailor his game. The difference is he's always kept himself fit. The difference is his game now is about in the penalty box.
Correct.
He's not a guy who's going to be running around in the middle of the park, playmaking and all this. He's the guy you want in the box. And the fact is, when he's injured, it's more noticeable.
You believe he's injured?
Absolutely, 100%.
You believe what Sarri's saying, that he's injured?
If Cristiano Ronaldo is not injured, you do not take Cristiano Ronaldo, even today, off after 55 minutes.
Okay.
You don't.
Counterpoint, if he is injured and you're Juventus, why are you playing him in November? When all we ever talk about on this show is that Juventus' season will be defined in Champions League.
Because it's Cristiano Ronaldo. We had the same problem we talked about Messi's telling his managers, not just Valverde, but previous managers, how hard it was for them not to play him because there's the desire to score goals. That's the same thing with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Job?
Well, it is, but you don't just turn round to your star guy and say, you know what, get lost, I'm in charge. You have to play with it. You have to work together. And part of that is when he's not 100%, you say, you know what, if we can get him on and gets us a goal, then maybe we can take him off or whatever. That's how you go about it. So you do not take Cristiano Ronaldo off after 55 minutes if he's fit.
I think from Juventus' perspective and from his perspective is he's not as in his mind he doesn't really want to be out in those wide positions as much as he used to be. Clearly, he will find himself out there now and again trying to link up and do stuff. But I think a lot of that is frustration. To Stevie's point, getting in the box. If Juventus get earlier, better delivery into the box, that's where he's going to thrive these days. You know, we know how strong he is in the air. We know how good a technique he's got. We've seen the overhead kicks. We've seen all the great goals. but they need to get delivery into the box, and quite often that's not what they do. Maybe when they bring a Douglas Costa on, he gets down the wide positions and whips something in, coming off the bench, yeah. But I think there's a frustration at Ronaldo at the moment that he isn't getting that delivery that he wants, and he's having to drift into the wider areas, or he's having to drift a little deeper and try and link up. And that was his game maybe 5 years ago, but that's not his game anymore.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.